Okay, hi everybody, both in the room and also on the web. My name is Magnus Larsson, and I am the COO of Alcadon Sweden, thus responsible for the operations. Just short about my background. Until recently, I was the sales director of Alcadon. I have long experience in managerial roles, primarily in sales, both in small companies, but also in very large companies. For example, Siemens, from where I came before Alcadon. I've also been working as a sales management consultant. I will talk a bit about the current situation of Alcadon in Sweden, but also give you a glimpse on how we see development the coming 3 years. As mentioned, Alcadon has been a leading player on the Swedish market for commercial networks since the start in the late 80s, through the launch of our own brand ECS in mid-90s. But I just want to add that according to a recent independent marketing survey done just before this summer, we can proudly today say that we are the actual number one. We operate in 4 different business areas, where the largest is commercial network, representing almost 50% of the turnover. This is mainly data center, but also structured cabling for all types of premises. Fiber network, or FTTX, accounts for 30% of the business. And our newest business area, residential network, accounts for 16%. And this business area came through the acquisition of Data Connect in 2017. It also led to the launch of our own brand DC Line. The 4th business area, services and training, accounts for 5%. It's the smallest business area, but one of the most important, and I will get back to that within a minute. We have 49 employees spread over 4 regions. And these regions, they operate under a great deal of own responsibility due to the circumstances in each geographic. Of course, within the framework of Alcadon's overall strategies and goals, and with full access and support from our central team and competence within technical support, product development, purchasing, marketing, and so on. And it gives us an entrepreneurial spirit that has always been and still is one of Alcadon's strengths. It makes us very solution-oriented, flexible, and I always don't dare to say actually agile. Today we have 2,000 active, loyal customers. Many of the customers has been with us for many, many years, and the amount of customers are increasing year by year. This is backed up by the latest NPS score, where we reached 56% in Sweden, which is really, really good. I would say that 80% of the customer base are installers, mainly working as subcontractors. 20% of the customer base are end customers. And we work with all kind of installers, from very large national companies such as Bravida, Assembly, Caverion, Instalco, and so on, but also mid-sized, more regional companies, down to very small local installation companies. So we cover the whole spectrum. Where does the money come from? I would say that 30% of the customer accounts for 80% of the turnover, and this is really good for us. It means that we are not dependent on one or a few large customers to receive our goals. It also means, and this is also very interesting, that we have a huge number of customers, active customers, buying very little from us today. So here we have a huge potential, and I will get back to that within a minute. As mentioned, we have own products. Those represents 37% of the business in Sweden. In addition, we have cooperations with world-leading manufacturers, and this gives us a mix in the product portfolio that's not only competitive but also profitable. Talking about profitable, I wait with that. Today we work with 200 suppliers, almost 209 suppliers. And I know that the school book says, oh, you should slimline and you should not work with too many suppliers. But for us, it's a real strength. And the last 2 years, it has been a real advantage for us that we had access to different alternatives when needed. So we're quite happy about this cooperation. Some numbers. We have seen a positive development on net sales the past years with a CAGR of 6.4%. In year 21, we reached a net sales of 324 million SEK. Somewhere from 19, due to Sonny taking over as CEO, we have focused on streamlining the organization and improvement of the logistics. As a consequence, we have seen improvement in EBITDA within a range from 6.6% to 13.1%. From 2020, when I came on board, we have gradually been able to refocus on growth, mainly through increased sales efficiency, but also in specific segment investments. And to highlight one successful investment we made was data center, where we in year 20 reached a growth of 40% and the year after 26%. And this is, of course, a huge success. And it really shows that with focused effort, we can really create growth. Talking about growth, back to the profitability, it's profitable growth. We, of course, always focus on capital tied up, cash flow. In year 21, we had an EBITDA over net working capital of 90%. Thus, we tie up very little capital. We have been focused on cash flow, still are, favorable payment terms, high inventory turnover. That combination really makes a difference. I think everybody here knows that drill. I think that was a bit about the current situation. Let's take a look on the future, starting with the market. If we take fiber network or FTTX, we have seen a somewhat negative development from year 18 to 20, mostly due to some large players amongst our customers expanding really strongly. And when they realized that the permit process took much longer than expected, the cost for deployment of fiber outside of the cities, I mean on the countryside, was much higher than expected. It kind of damped the speed of expansion. But very important to know, the Swedish government has a goal, still aiming for it, that everybody in Sweden should have access to broadband with a capacity of 100 megabit per sec. Today, 650,000 households still don't have that. So there is still a lot to do. It is said that it would need approximately 22 billion in government support, in addition to commercial investments, to reach the goal. And yeah, the government has also increased the grants. I mean, from year 20, it was 136 million SEK. The year after, it was 1.6 billion SEK. And in year 22, where we are now, it was 1.3 billion. But as you hear, a lot of more grants to come. Myself and the team, we honestly don't believe that we will reach the goal in 2025 in Sweden, but we will in a very nearby future. So overall, we see a more mature market, steady growth, and a lot of investments to replace and expand the data transport capacity. Over to commercial network or structured cabling. Here we see a clear recovery after a couple of weaker years. As a clear consequence of the pandemic, I mean, we have been talking about it here today, people working from home, shutdowns of certain industries, restrictions, it all together put some of the investments on hold, I would say. Now we see expected growth rates from 3 to 7%, lower in some segments like office buildings, but higher in others like healthcare, for example. Much higher growth are expected from data center. We see numbers from 10 to 25%, mostly within co-location and enterprise solutions where we are represented. Of course, it's driven by one of our time's largest mega trends. You all know about it, the digital society, or IoT, with its constant need for increased capacity, both to store and transport data. I would say something briefly about residential networks. We have seen quite stable growth the last years, and no surprise about that. Everybody knows that the underlying need for a new housing is much higher than what is actually being produced. Now the industry fears a bit of a setback as a clear consequence to the raised cost to build, the construction costs. But we have to be very honest here. This business area represents such a small part of our total business. And with a very little market share, the growth rates does not really affect us. I would say a few words about the competition. We see a quite fragmented landscape, a number of very large international wholesalers, and many relatively small niche distributors. And the position of Alcadon, I would say, are more of a niche distributor, but with some major differences. We do have our own developed market-leading solutions within our brands. At the same time, we have a broad, flexible, very market-adapted portfolio. We also have well-developed warehouse and logistic functions. And one more important thing, and I'm getting back to this small fourth business area, we do provide our customers with technical support and advice, education, actual training, and certifications, I would say like no one else. And that makes us quite different from a common box mover. And this is, of course, something that we have been able to really leverage on, which is good. So how do we see growth going forward? More important, we do have a clear set of growth initiatives. I will mention just a couple of them today, but the first one is increasing sales capacity, both geographically. We are now moving into geographics where we today have none or very little market activities. We also are increasing the sales representatives in the organization, and these two things together gives us the possibility not only to increase sales to our existing large customers, but also cross-sell, upsell to this large number of customers buying very little from us today, not to mention new customers coming in. So here we have a huge potential just still waiting for us. Another initiative is expanding the product portfolio. Of course, we will continue to invest in solutions for data center, but also new investments in a couple of other areas like telecom and security. And all of these three areas are expected to have high growth and also high profitability. And they are all within our competence. So it really makes sense. We strongly believe that we stand on a solid ground for growth, and we are expecting annual growth above 10% with improved operating margins. So we have some really interesting years ahead of us. Keep having at least one eye on us, and I hope to see you all soon. That was all from me. Thanks.